1. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hobby Hotline. We are here on a new home for collectors. I believe John was saying this is episode 351. John, I guess I'll kick to you first. You know, if you have anything you want to say about For Collectors, any of the kind of some of the intro stuff that we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a great channel. I'd say up and coming, but like
Muted
they're
for anybody
here.
else? Oh,
And can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I'd say up and coming, but they're here and they're doing big things. I think they're just going to get bigger. I hope I'm speaking for everybody when I say like we're happy to be here, and we got some new folks involved in the show along with the move over here to For Collectors. So we're back to weekly again. I'm sure people will be excited about that. I know when we went to the first and third Saturday, my inbox was a little bit, I don't want to say full, but I had some messages like, "Hey, what's going on?" So we're back to weekly, and I think that's a good thing.
yeah, absolutely. And we got a packed show today. I mean, usually it's just the host and then two other people. We'll start at the top left. John, introduce yourself. You know, let the audience know who you are and what you got going on here.
Well, the audience on this channel should know who I am since
the other John. Sorry.
Go ahead.
The For Collectors here, and welcome Hobby Hotline crew to the fold here. I think it's going to be a great addition. I'm looking forward to being in the mix here from time to time with the shows. So, welcome aboard. So,
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. This is a great move for the show. We're all, I think, really excited for the move here. Victor, I guess technically we are since this is our intro show. I guess I'll just be sending it around and everybody should be introducing themselves. So Victor, introduce yourself to the new audience here.
Yes, Victor, typically found on YouTube and Instagram at true_RCS, typically dealing with the topic of the rookie card.
Awesome. And then we've got Logan, aka NASCAR Card. You obviously give us a little intro there, Logan.
Thanks, guys. King NASCAR, actually.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm found on Twitter mostly. We also do a show called NASCAR Radio. It drops every Friday. We talk about all things NASCAR. It's Val Mars and I. So check that out.
Awesome. And Orlando, you're up next.
I'm Orlando. I'm have my YouTube channel, A Collector's Dream. Been on YouTube now almost 4 years. On Hobby Hotline, I'm on a lot of lives. I've been on a lot of lives and recordings also on the For Collectors channel and other channels. So I just make guest appearances whenever I'm asked.
Awesome. Yeah, and last but certainly not least, we got Chris Harris. Give us a little bit of an intro.
Certainly not least. I'm Chris. Some of you guys might know me from a blog that I did 15 years ago. Some of you guys might know me as one of the guys behind Baseball Cardpedia. Some of you guys might know me from my Twitter feed, Stale Gum. I'm just here to bring the snark and keep it real. So,
Adam, introduce yourself as well. Like, I know you're
John.
hosting,
yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, so my name is Adam Palmer. You can find me Adam Drew Palmer on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I guess I don't really post as much on my own YouTube. I am the daily host on Sports Card Nonsense. We do a daily show, Daily Nonsense, and that's my show on there. And then just posting TikToks, YouTube, Instagram, stuff like that. Twitter, I guess it's all there. So I mean that's my short intro. I try and as the host, make sure everybody else gets their time in here. So we will get into the episode here. We're going to start with a little light, with the NFL season getting underway. We had the first two games. We had Cowboys and Eagles, which had that weird rain delay. and then we had the Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs last night, and then we got college football week 2, and then week 1, and the NFL is going to be tomorrow, obviously. So I'll do kind of the same thing, kick it around the horn. So John, John, 3D80s kid, what do you think about the NFL? Are you excited? What you got? What are you excited for?
Well, I think the NFL is awesome. I think having the salary cap, making it so almost any team can compete year to year is spectacular. And, there's a few key teams that have key players, but it's really a battle of attrition and, keeping your team healthy. Because I'm personally a 49er fan. So can Purdy stay on the field this year? That's, the big thing for me. So, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. John Newman, how about you?
Fall's my favorite time of year for many different reasons. Football being one of them. Long-time fantasy football uh, player, probably 30-something years of that. I'm not gonna lie, I do a little sports betting. I don't go crazy with the cheese whiz, but I like to put a little money on some of the games I feel confident about. I'm not a casino guy, so I feel like I have sort of uh, some sort of knowledge rather than just putting a chip on the color. So I do a little bit of that, and obviously collecting football cards as well with everything else I collect. So I love this time of year. So I'm revved up.
Nice. Victor, and I know you're out in Chicago. Are you excited for Caleb Williams this year? What is kind of your outlook on the team? I don't know if they got a new coach, but you got a Duze out there. You got Williams, some kind of interesting players in their second year. Are you kind of excited for that?
Yeah, definitely. The buzz around here is we're really excited about this year's Bears team. So there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of new things, but a lot of new weapons. So we'll see how the season unfolds. I love, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what your worldview is, football is almost, let's just call it a religion for many. But regardless of which, man, I just, I'm ready. Let's go.
Nice. And Logan, you're down in Atlanta, right? So does that mean you are a Falcons fan, or are you a fan of a different team down there?
Well, actually, Adam, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. So
Memphis. I'm over
Well,
two.
now
Sorry
you got to move.
Now I'm over two. Now I'm over two.
No,
Jeez.
don't want to move to Atlanta. Too much traffic for me. We're kind of a Titans fan. Really more a Colts fan because of my son. Actually, my son and daughter-in-law are on their way to Indianapolis right now for the Colts and Dolphins game. So
nice.
Looking forward to that. I love NASCAR, of course, but then I really do love football season. I'm glad it's here finally. It means cool weather, means a lot of great games. Watched the Thursday night game. That was interesting, needless to say. But yeah, looking forward to the season.
Nice. And so Orlando, a football fan, which I think you're, I'm trying to remember everybody's fandom here. I think you are a Panthers fan in hockey. So do you have a football team? Like, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm a huge Dolphin fan. I've been in South Florida all my life. Also lived in Central Florida, so I really followed the Buccaneers too, but mainly a Dolphin fan since they started here. Living in Miami pretty much all my life. The only pro team we had for many years were the Dolphins. And I first saw them in the late 60s when they first started. Don Shula, the undefeated team. I went to those games back in the early 70s and been following them for pretty much all my life. Also a big University of Miami fan. They beat Notre Dame last week, which was a huge game.
Nice.
Now they're in the top 5. So it's a great time here in Miami. We're just hoping that, John said, that they can stay healthy. Tua and Tyreek Hill, hopefully, if they can stay healthy. Looks like we got a good defense, and I'm looking forward to it. Big football card collector also.
Yeah, definitely. And, Chris, I know you mentioned your Twitter, and I know on your Twitter you tweet about the Philadelphia Union, the soccer team. Are you also an Eagles fan as well?
Me and my dad used to be Eagles season ticket holders. So, yeah, that's how much our fandom is. And I just received word on my phone that CeeDee Lamb dropped another pass. Since we started, so.
Yeah, he dropped about half the passes.
It's always great. Always great to beat Dallas. Always great to open up the season with a win.
Definitely.
Even better to open up the season with a win against Dallas. So
right, totally. And you got to celebrate the championship and all that stuff. Now that was really cool, and they had a fun ceremony. I mean, so I'll kind of give a little bit of an intro. I am a Patriots fan. Sorry to everybody in the comments. So I have. The Patriots now, unfortunately, because they've won so much, not to brag here, but like because they've won so much, I've sort of moved my allegiance into just like rooting for whoever I'm betting on or whoever's on my fantasy team. Obviously, still a huge Patriots fan, but like with them not being so good the past couple of years, it's been a little bit tougher. I mean, oh man, it's almost a decade since we won the championship. It's really kind of devastating, actually. But either way, yeah, Boston fan, Patriots fan, all of those things. So the NFL season, I mean, like John was mentioning too, I like to bet on the games. I mean, I bet on a lot of games, but I don't bet a lot. I don't bet a lot of money. I'll bet like, I don't know, a couple bucks here and there. I mean, on each game, I enjoy picking the game. So that's where I kind of go with that sort of thing. And yeah, so I mean, anybody else have anything before we kind of move on to the first topic here for the NFL?
Let's say hello to the chat, Adam.
Yeah. Say hello to the comments.
How we doing? I know one thing that I like doing when we were on Bench Clear and Hobby Hotline was for everybody in the comments to let us know where you're watching the show from, because I'm interested in seeing where everybody is kind of throughout the country. I mean, we've had people throughout the world as well. So, I mean, like I said, I want to give people a shout out here. The chat is it's a lot more lively than it has been. I mean, probably it being the first show in the debut, that's been really great. So I want to give a shout out to some of the regulars in here. I saw Abel from Vegas, Foul Balls in here. I saw who else is a regular I want to give a shout out to. We got Clemente Collector, Mookie Chilson. I mean, there's again the chat's moving pretty quickly here. We got Daytona, somebody in Ohio. We got California, like I said, or not California. I've been reading too quickly. Pennsylvania.
Dan says that he didn't know that there was a Patriots fan on Hobby Hotline team, and we're not sure if we agreed to this.
Yeah, I apologized beforehand. Maybe that's just my nature. Was my therapist says potentially is apologizing to everyone beforehand. But yeah, we out in Foul Ball, obviously out in California.
Shout out to Tony Stank from Memphis.
That's right. Yep, he was up here a little bit. It's definitely a ton of fun. I'm glad that chat is kind of buzzing today. I mean, I usually try and shout out some of the people where they're watching from. The first topic that I think the chat will probably be buzzing about also is we're going to talk about some grading data that came out this past month since we switched over from August to September. So taking into account this, probably all this data probably also includes like the national and there was a Dallas show. I know that there was the big West Coast card show. I believe PSA was out at that. So I'm just finding the data here. So we've got, I'll pull up the first image here. So 1.6 million total graded cards from PSA, and then 118,000 from SGC. Now, I think the interesting thing here, because this is mainly a sports show, or sports card show, we had 666,000 PSA graded sports cards, and then 1.01 million TCG. So the sports grading is down, but the overall grading is up. So I'll start down at the bottom. Logan, kind of, what do you think of these numbers when you're seeing them at first?
It's incredible. I mean, 1.6 million in a month. I was actually getting at my old school calculator to calculate that out. Let's see, 1,600,000 divided by 30 days equals about good gosh almighty, I can't even see it on my calculator. Over 53,000 per day. That's incredible, man, when you think about it. Holy smokes. I never thought I'd see grading like this. I know a lot of it is TCG and Pokemon. I will say that, talking about that particular segment, I don't see how that market is sustainable. I think they're trying to catch up, overall, when you think about it. but it's the numbers are staggering, and it makes me wonder how how many graders they've got now, and what kind of experience these graders have. Because I know I see a lot online, people talking about how upset they are with the grades and things like this, and it's just it just makes me wonder how good things are at PSA right now. But apparently they're pretty good if they're doing 1.6 million cards a month.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So Orlando, how about you? I know you before the show you were mentioning you're kind of an SGC guy. So were the SGC numbers shocking to you, or is this something where you maybe expected that?
Well, I think we expected it. I mean, you could tell at the national that the PSA booth was full, even though they were doing on site. They were also taking submissions, and SGC was pretty dead most of the time. SGC is now with PSA here in Boca, just about 30 minutes from me. And I know that they did take some of SGC's graders, and I talked to one of the guys that's the biggest submitter to SGC at a card show last month, and he told me that PSA is going to begin grading cards here in Boca in September. So some of that is because of they're going to be using SGC graders. But it was a pretty big shock. Last month, I think, was about 200,000 cards for SGC and went down to 112. But, I still think, as far as me as a vintage collector, I prefer SGC because, they do have good vintage graders and they're pretty solid when it comes to vintage. But it is shocking to see them down 30% year over year. And, a lot of that is people are worried. People are scared that they're, maybe going out of business. I don't believe they're going out of business. I mean, you could see they're the second highest, they're second behind PSA for sports cards. So I think PSA wants to hold on to them just a bit, and and we'll have to see what happens. But I do believe that they're going to stay in business for a while. It's just a little concerning that they've lost so much business just over a month. See them a couple of months.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of the interesting part to me as well, especially like it's basically been a month since they announced that they were kind of winding some of the things down with SGC. Chris, I'll ask you maybe a similar question. Was SGC being down this much a surprise to you, or was this something that you expected?
I think I kind of expected this. I think ever since PSA acquired SGC and was going to kind of keep it its separate thing for a while, you kind of figured that eventually they'll start to, pronouns, pal, PSA would try and absorb SGC's business. And it appears to start it appears that that's started to happen. What I notice about these numbers is just how, for the longest time, the TCG hobby, and I do not collect Pokemon cards or anything like that, has kind of been late to the grading party, and now they're starting to catch up. And when all of those TCGs that were issued 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago get graded, then what? Are we going to just, I don't know, are those numbers going to eventually plateau to a point? So that's what I think about it. I'm kind of shocked by the numbers with CGC regarding sports cards. They're roughly at the same level as Beckett when it comes to sports. And when you consider that CGC basically poached most of Beckett's grading staff, I'm kind of surprised that sports card collectors haven't embraced CGC, because their slab, I think, is a lot nicer. It's a lot clearer. So yeah.
Yeah. And so, Victor, I'll ask you a kind of a similar question to what Chris was just talking about. Do you think that there is like ever a point where a plateau could happen from grading? Like, this is something where it seems like every month it just continues to go up and up and up. So, I mean, my question to you is, do you think that there is ever a point where we either see like a decrease or like where things will just stay like stagnant for a while?
Yeah, I think the market, right? There's ebbs and flows within the market, and yeah, we're gonna see ups and downs like we have in the last 5 years. I will say the chat is on fire right now, and I'm gonna see if I can add a little gas to the fire. Um, Riding off the coattails of Logan, I did a little bit of math myself. And if we take 1.6 million and divide it by $20 per submission, just for an average, we're looking at $32 million
Mm.
PSA made in the month of August. But yeah, I know there's been a lot of like murmuring within the talking head sports card content that this drop of SGC month over month is pretty big, bigger than expected. So there's like a lot of concern there. And my biggest, I guess, what I want to know is basically those who are SGC faithful. I would love to know like how they feel about it. Do they have any concerns? Are they considering to pivot? What is your feeling if this continues to trend that way? And I'll segue that question to two SGC guys that are next up in John Newman and John 3D.
Who wants to go first? Me?
You.
All right. Listen, I'm at my SGC table at the show. I will tell you this: it's very quiet here. I had to get off there for a moment to get someone their cards back. Tomorrow I'm doing a bigger show, and I already had like a commitment of 100 cards subbed. I think a little bit
Mm.
of the, and that's just verbal commitment. I'll have walk-ups to the table, so I'm sure I'll have a good amount of cards tomorrow. This is a smaller type show in a smaller city. Tomorrow's the New York State Fairground show that I do. Um, I think I think people are tentative a little bit to see what is like. They're wondering what's going to happen. So when you're wondering what's going to happen, I think you're less likely sometimes to sub cards. I'm going to go on what Ryan Hoge from PSA said, that they're not closing them. One thing that's a little disappointing, I see a lot of big time content creators falling into the trap of clickbait, right? And SGC is dead and SGC is closing. And it's coming from content creators that didn't used to do that kind of tactics, if you will. So that's a little disappointing. I'm still like SGC until they're not going to be here anymore. If that's actually what does happen, which I'm not predicting, and you won't see those titles. But the landscape has changed with the bulk rates going away, guys. And I'll be very transparent and tell you I get less subs now because I had to raise my prices. But I think that's what collectors slash PSA wants. They want them to be sort of their little brother rather than their peer. And if that's the case, I still doesn't change how I feel about SGC. But I'm still getting subs. Today's not a good indicator of that. Tomorrow will be a better indicator of that.
Right, right. And so John 3D, the other John, or
Yeah.
the John up at the top here. What
Yep.
is what are your kind of thoughts on SGC, or just the grading in general? But I think before the show you were also saying you're kind of an SGC guy. It seems like we got a couple SGC guys in the chat here, but let's hear what your thoughts were about that.
Well, back to the original question, am I surprised at the drop? Not in the slightest. When you have the president of grading of this corporation coming online saying he wants less cards going to this company and they want it to shrink, they're stealing resources for their primary company. It's logical that people who are grading, who are primarily concerned about value because they're going to resell their cards are going to avoid that company like the plague. So it's only logical for those numbers to come down, and they're going to keep coming down. Personally, if you see my back wall, it's nothing but STC. But I grade because I like the visual appeal of my vintage cards in their slab. So it has nothing ultimately to do with resale value. I don't plan to resell any of my cards. I don't sell any cards unless I'm actually decided it doesn't fit in my collection anymore. So it's a completely different ball game for me to go to a grading company than many others. So as far as me continuing to send occasionally to SGC when I acquire cards that are ungraded, or even when I acquire cards that are a good deal in a PSA slab, I'm going to continue sending them to crossover because I get what I want, which is the visual appeal of my display. So it's not going to stop me. I know I'm playing my violin on the deck of the Titanic right now, and I'm going to keep doing it until it sinks.
Yeah,
so,
that's an interesting. I've never heard that comparison before, but yeah, I guess that's a good one. So, I guess I'll kind of a follow up question for you.
Well,
here,
John. One of the key.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The careful wording. If you listen to both Nat and Ryan speak, they have always said we are not killing the SGC brand. They have never said they are not killing the SGC company. So are we going to see SGC branded slabs coming, though, out of PSA facilities?
Interesting.
As an alternate slab choice.
And so, I guess maybe I'll ask, do you think that, I guess maybe a follow-up question, do you think that they would ever, is there a way they could combine the companies on one slab? I don't know. That seems kind of crazy, but I don't know if that's something that you've thought of or something that, I don't know, maybe the chat has thought of. Like, John, what do you think of that?
I'm sorry, what?
What do you think that they would ever combine could they ever combine PSA and SGC somehow into one company, or is that do you think that they will always stay separate?
I don't know about their inner workings, but I would be shocked if they haven't already combined what you would consider overhead type functions. Support staff, HR, everything that is not in the direct production line. So
yeah, I agree with John there. Obviously they're using the same graders at this point. They're using SGC graders for PSA. They have the same building. I think the big step would be, do they combine the registry for SGC and PSA if they decide that they're going to go ahead and use the same, give you an option. Do you want your card in an SGC slab or in a PSA slab? Then I think if they get to that point and they're one company, they may be forced to combine the registry and allow SGC slabs into the PSA registry.
One other thing is the fact that PSA doesn't have a 9.5 grade either. It's two completely different grading rubrics.
Right.
How does that work?
Yeah, and not only that, you have to admit that the grading standards between SGC and PSA are different. So a PSA 9 is different than an SGC 9. So as far as the registry is concerned, how could you compare the two? Do you take off one numeric grade? I don't see how that's
How's it going?
Hey, Adam, can you show Vintage Card Collector's comment? Very interesting statement here.
Sure. Do you have a timestamp on that?
1029.
1029. Oh, right here. Okay. Oh, there you go. I found it. Yeah, that's. Victor, what are kind of your thoughts on this? I know that you pointed it out, so I'm just wondering, what were you thinking? What were your initial thoughts when you saw that comment there?
My initial thought is, if PSA wanted to shut down SGC, they could do it instantaneously. And
Right.
doing a move like what Vintage Card Collector is referring to here would definitely be the nail in the coffin, per se.
Well, one thing, if you dive in, I did look at the gem rate data. If you look at the percentages of cards by era, that is one thing to me that is telling with SGC, is that the month to month, one of the big changes is the more modern cards shrank while the vintage percentages go up. So they don't really show necessarily delta of like overall numbers of each of those categories, but to me, that's SGC is still being floated by vintage collectors. Small C is what it feels like.
And I'll make this last statement on this topic, Adam, because I know you want to move on. But if I recall, upper brass of PSA, basically the sentiment that was, to my understanding, was the hobby is going to decide what happens to SGC. So those who are SGC, those who are pro SGC, I guess is, now's the time to double down on SGC.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, that's sort of like when I heard the initial comments of rolling some of the stuff back, in my head I was like, if the customer base is there for SGC, why, like, are they just going to make the service worse? Like if the customers want SGC graded cards, like, why, who's to tell them you can't grade with SGC? I guess maybe people saw that and that maybe changed their opinion on SGC. But it's like, I think one thing in this hobby that is interesting is that people like what they like, and changing anyone's opinions on what people like is, I don't know if it's impossible necessarily, but I know it's one of the things that I've noticed over the years of creating content and everything. It's just like when people like a certain grading company or they like a certain product, it's like that's their thing and they don't want to switch. So that's where I was a little bit interested by the such a drastic drop in 1 month of like a 25% drop. Like that's pretty significant if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, any other final thoughts here? It's gonna be still kind of talking about grading in the next topic, just because there was a launch of a big feature on PSA. But anybody else have any like final thoughts here?
Adam, I just want to say you touched on something you said too. We got to keep in mind this is the early innings of this decision by collectors, right? So
Right.
this drop is expected. This isn't like at least to me, I can only speak for myself. I expected this initial drop when these kind of decisions are made. Um, Here's the thing: when you look at that chart, right, we saw that CDC is third, and a pretty distant third when it comes to sports cards. If collectors wants to phase out SGC, right now PSA and collectors have the 1 and 2 sports card grading companies. They want to phase out number 2. Guess who's number 2? And CGC's sports card numbers are going to go a lot up. They're going to open a door that I wouldn't want to open if I'm collectors. That's
Right.
how I feel about it. PSA's number 1 threat is not in play. They're probably going to be number 1 till we're all long and gone.
Right.
Do you want to give up your number 2 spot by default by just eliminating the number 2 that you own and let someone move up in the rankings? And for as popular as PSA is, there are people that refuse to send to them, and they know
Right.
that as well as we do. So I'm going to go by what, again, is Ryan Hose or Nat Turner going to say we're closing SGC? If they were, I agree. They're not going to tell me that. When I spoke to Ryan in Chicago for 15 minutes, he told me they're keeping them open. But if they weren't, he wouldn't have told me that.
Right.
So I felt he was being sincere for the 2 cents that might be worth. But like, why? You've already bought them, right? You've already bought them. The money is spent on SGC. Why phase them out and then have CGC be the automatic number two
Right.
at that point. I'm not in charge of that. There's smart people in that room that figured that out, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right.
One more
Makes
thing,
sense. Yeah.
Adam. One
Go
more
for
thing.
it.
SGC, at one point, remember that they were backed up, and their turnaround times were delayed for like a month. They're back to 2 weeks turnaround time, and
Mm.
you're talking PSA and CSG are still 3 months out. So there's still a lot of people that want to get their cards right away, and you can get them within 2 weeks with SGC. It's the only grading company you can do that with at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Adam.
Yep.
Dan here is pro SGC. We need his thoughts
Yeah.
on this.
I was gonna just introduce him. So Dan, another member here from Four Collectors, the Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Give yourself a little intro here, just because I know in the chat you said you're jumping in around 11:30, and it's around 11:30. So Dan, let everybody know kind of who you are, what you got going on.
Well, I am the newest of the Four Collectors, which isn't that new anymore since I joined on February 1st. Very, very thankful to John, of course, and Theo and Sammy and Caesar for taking me in. And it's been a great ride so far. We've had some amazing events, and this, to me, is one of the most amazing events. Adam, I joked about a Patriots fan, and that was just kind of a little bit of a jab. But the first thing I put in the chat was that this is a great day in hobby history, frankly.
Yep.
The merger of two major entities, and giving us regular programming, and it just feels right to me on so many different levels. And it's been a great getting to know you period since this was announced and starting up to this day. And I know Victor and John did a great discussion earlier this week. I thought that was really outstanding. So I'm just incredibly pleased that that this has taken place, and that and it's so far it's pretty damn good. I mean, I saw 62 people in the chat, which for a Saturday morning is really, really cool. So, and of course, my great friend Orlando, right above me here, is always great to see him.
We're like the Brady Bunch right now.
Thank you, Dan.
So, Victor did ask my view on SGC, and he is correct.
Yes.
I am a 100% behind SGC person. I have submitted to PSA twice, and that was only because they were autographs and tickets that SGC does not do. But every one of my vintage baseball card submissions are to SGC, and there's been, I don't know, I'm in the 20s at this point, 10 total that have been on my channel, including one just this week. I was concerned about maybe some of the things that potentially might take place, like the return times being longer, the quality, the grading, the consistency, all being. But that is not my experience. And in fact, my last submission that I did a video on just this week, they were faster than they were the last two submissions. All the grades were exactly what I wanted them to be. They got everything right in terms of like identifying these sort of tough sets, and it just was, to me, like a 100% great experience. I mean, sure, it could have been a half grade here or there, but whatever. In reality, I predict my grades before they go out, and these were right in the range on every single card. And it was 19 cards. It wasn't a small one either. So I'm very pro SGC. What is going to happen with them in the long run? I don't know. It was really kind of beyond my control, and it's something that I'm really not going to worry about. I'm just going to keep submitting to them and keep getting the cards back. Do I worry about value of the slabs in the long run? Again, maybe not really my problem. I'm 62 years old, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to be collecting, but I guess that's a problem for my descendants. But anyway, sorry to ramble, but major message is really, really happy about this day and this event, and moving forward. So
yeah, absolutely. And go for it, John.
I want to thank Dan for those sentiments, and I feel the same way. And welcome as well to the Hobby Hotline. I wanted to see you mention turnaround time. As someone that subs a lot to them, they're back at around 12 to 14 days, guys. from door to door. That's a significant stat. I don't care whether you like SGC. I don't care if you're shoveling dirt on SGC. They're at 12 to 14 days, and people like their car. I don't care. There's not one person that don't want their cards back quick. Um,
Right.
and so that's starting to spread again. That word's getting out there that the turnaround time is back up to speed. So I'd be more interested to see the next 2 months gem rate reports once people get the once the the news hits the vine that you can have your cards in a slab in 2 weeks. So that's and that's not made up. That's I can show you that.
Right. And so I mean I think that kind of transitions pretty nicely actually in sort of the next topic here was a big announcement that PSA made this week. They are launching basically rapid you can sell your cards right away with PS or with their vault that they have. You can sell them 24 hours after the grade. You got 24 hours to accept the offer. So I guess it's a interesting dynamic where PSA is grading them and then also buying them. I mean, we know that they're teaming with GameStop to do their new repack product. I think it's some people might say it's a conflict of interest, but I think at the same time it's like
Because it is.
the speed that you can go from getting your card and then getting it graded and then selling it has become faster than ever. And I mean, John, I know you were saying the value, John 3D. I know you're saying some of the stuff you're not looking to really sell. So like, is this something that you would ever use as someone who grades a lot with SGC and then switch it? Would you ever switch over to PSA because of something like this? If you were looking to sell the card quickly, you think?
That's not even in the mindset I'm in, but just as an observer of what this goes, this completely blurs the lines between the whole third party grading company and then seller. I mean, they are financially incentivized to give cards higher grades because then they're going to sell it for more money and they're going to have a bigger cut. I mean, I would hope it's not actually happening, but the line is blurred because it is a total conflict.
Right. And then so I mean John Newman, I'll ask you a similar question or are you good there, John?
You're good.
Okay. What's the chatter been like at that show? Has anybody been really talking about this? It's been like, I know you're mentioning some of the decreases in some of the stuff you've been getting, but like, do you think that this is going to add more fuel to the PSA fire potentially?
The comments I've got from the people who picked up their cards today have been like, "Hey, they're back up to that speed we kind of were spoiled to get." It's slow with the subs today, but again, I've got a major show tomorrow in the New York State Fairgrounds. One guy came today and he goes, "I'll have 40 cards for you tomorrow. I didn't fill out my paperwork yet." So this show, in comparison to tomorrow's show, I've gotten phone calls and texts that I've already know just committal uh, via messages. I have 3 digits worth of cards coming tomorrow, and then I'll have walk-ups as well. So I'll venture a guess. I'll have 300 to 400 cards submitted at the end of business tomorrow. Before the bulk rates went away, that number probably was 600, maybe 700 cards. So yeah, it's down, but that's because of the price level more than anything else.
Gotcha. Yeah, Orlando, pretty much same question. What are your kind of thoughts on this new announcement by PSA? I mean, I know that we've been doing a lot of grading stuff on here, but it's just been what has been in the news recently. So what were your kind of initial thoughts when you heard about this news?
Well, I mean, I just see PSA just expanding the reach and going into other markets. I mean, now that they are controlling grading pretty much, I mean, CSG and they get no competition to them right now as far as sports cards. It's a way for them to really reach out and take a piece of the pie from all the other companies. They got GameStop, they've got now going putting stuff themselves on eBay. They've got them buying cards directly from you after they're graded. You could put them in the PSA vault. So for all these different areas. It's for them to get a piece of the pie from all the different parts of the community, other than just the grading portion of it. There is a concern there because I heard that they're giving a discount if you agree to sell them your cards once they're graded. So that, like John said earlier, could be a concern. You know, if you say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and submit 50 cards, and once you grade them, you can sell them. Well, you know, that kind of is a little bit of a conflict of interest right there. But I just think that PSA is going to continue to reach out to different venues and try to get a piece of the pie everywhere they can, you know, and compete more against Fanatics than ever before and against eBay and any other selling platform that's out there, including the auction houses. So, you know, auctions are big now. I think a lot of people are reaching out to auction houses. And I think this is one way for eBay to really get into the auction business, vaulting business, and, you know, bring in cards, not just through themselves, but of course, GameStop and, you know, who else knows what other venues are going to reach out to get it? Are we going to start getting submissions? We already got submissions at Burbank, at other card stores, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to have submission services at Target? You know, even Walmart is selling cards now. They were at the National with a booth. So how far is PSA going to expand? And I think they're really, again, crossing the lines or spreading their line to see where else can we pick up a piece of the pie from this hobby. So it's interesting what they're doing. And I think that, you know, I think they're going in that direction versus focusing on SGC. I think they've done their SGC part pretty much. I think they're looking at other revenue sources and you know, these are big revenue sources they're looking at right now, with themselves selling cards, buying them for them, and vaulting them, plus any other things they're looking at doing.
And I did want to just, I know Mike from Junkwax Hero, he had mentioned earlier in the chat that PSA was not buying the cards. They're just facilitating the offer. So I think maybe I might have said that they were buying cards, they were offerings. I just want to, you know, obviously Mike put some good info in the chat here that they're not necessarily buying the cards, they're facilitating the offers there. So next we got Chris.
And
so
they
Chris,
take their cut based on a percentage of value, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Surely they have to get a cut of that.
So how is it not horrible that they're doing this?
Yeah, Chris. So what are your kind of thoughts on maybe that comment or just in general?
I think we need to acknowledge and recognize that this kind of a service isn't for collectors like us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for quote unquote real collectors. It's for the kind of people that buy into breaks, get their cards, send them to grading, and then immediately flip them for try and get their money back or try and make a profit. It's not for the kind of people that buy cards for the sake of buying and collecting cards. So I would suggest that of the 8 people on this screen right now, maybe 6 or 7 of us would probably never do this. And I would suggest most of the people in the chat and most of the people listening to this podcast would probably not be interested in this service. Yes, there is some it's the hobby. Conflict of interest. Whoever thought of that in the hobby?
Right.
Never, ever in a million years would I ever. Of course, this is a conflict of interest, and even if this is merely, as Junkwax Hero says, if PSA is merely facilitating and not actually buying, clearly they're getting some grease in on this. Okay, so. Again, I would never do this, but that's just me. So.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I'm gonna push back on the conflict of interest thing. Full disclaimer: I am pro PSA, but at the same time, for so long, we've always felt like the hobby is just outdated. It's old. It needs to evolve. It needs to, and the innovation here is, if you look at the game plan that has been laid out, it's pretty genius. But if we read the details of the email that they sent out and really do just spend a few minutes on researching and actually reading what's going on, a lot of these questions that we have or uncertainties will be answered. This is what they're saying is, I'm reading the email here. It's powered by partners. Okay. It's local card shops and verified dealers within the PSA partner networks are always looking for supply. Through PSA offers, cards are allocated to fill their specific inventory request and find new collections to call home. So they are basically facilitating a network of partners to instantly sell these cards. And the benefit to us is that the funds will be transferred immediately and there will be no fees involved. That's a huge selling point for us collectors. Also, why are they doing this? And they feel their mission here is that not every pool is a keeper, not every grade is right for your collection. Some could be trade ups, some could be stepping stones, some could be fuel for what's next. And this, to me, is a tremendous service to take the hobby to the next level, to initiate funds, to help us move inventory that we don't like in order to get into stuff that we do want. And it's perhaps, and these offers aren't going to come until the grades are revealed to us. At that point, we then have 24 hours to decide whether we want to accept their offer or decline. And so it's now, if that was to be before they grade it, then I would say, yeah, that's kind of a conflict of interest, because then if I'm going to sell it to you, you're going to bump up the grade, you know, and that's where the waters get muddy. But the offers are not coming until after, and we have the option at that time to accept or decline.
Right.
What would everybody
And
think about this if this is a precursor to a sale to or a merger with Fanatics?
I mean, that would, I don't know if that, I would be surprised if that's even like allowed. Like, if I'm going to be honest, like, I don't know, like it, I guess I don't know
But
what
there's
is
no
allowed,
regulation of any of these companies right now. I mean,
right.
And there won't be.
Right. Yeah, I think regulation coming in would be much more detrimental to the industry than, at least in the short term, for sure. So, you know, Logan, obviously you got the PSA hat on there. Where do you sit kind of on the fence between, you know, if Victor and Chris were fighting, whose side would you be? Whose side would you be on?
I can't hear you, Logan.
Logan, I think you might be muted or your mic isn't working.
Sorry. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, like Victor, you know, I'm with Victor. I'm pro PSA. I'm a big set registry guy. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit. I am a PSA Hall of Fame member. But what I don't like is I'm not going to use this service. I will never use the service. That's not what I'm about. What does this say about the state of the hobby? Is it become more of a flipping game with hot potatoes instead of collecting? You know, I am a real collector. I will say that. And I do grade cards. I've looked at the comments. So real collectors do grade cards. But I don't like the way that I see the modern market going. It's all cards are now, and especially if you watch the the TCG market, it's all cards are now hot potatoes. Somebody's going to get caught in the end with the hot potato and they're going to lose. That's, to me, that's not a hobby. That's investing. That's speculating. I think that should be separate. That's not, to call this a hobby. I totally disagree. It's not a hobby. It's just flipping and trying to make money. And people see these things like they see the Caitlin Clark rookie on NBC selling for $660,000, and they're like, "Oh wow, I can make a lot of money, quick money selling sports cars." Well, guess what, people? It doesn't work that way.
Right.
But they see it that way, and grading is a tool or a vessel for them to try to increase whatever money they think they're going to make. And PSA is, well, you have to give it to PSA. They're responding to that, and they're giving these flippers a way to do that. But in the end, I just don't see this market being sustainable like it is now. I just can't see it. I've been in this too long. I've been in this hobby over 50 years, and I just don't see it. And I've seen stuff like this before, and it won't last.
And so Dan, we'll wrap up this sort of topic here with your thoughts, and what are you thinking here?
Well, two things really, and Chris makes a great point that, like, worrying about a conflict of interest in this hobby is kind of like goes back decades. It's something that's always taken place, but in the grading sphere, conflict of interest is kind of something that was always like behind the scenes. Guys getting things graded on Saturday, or somebody who's a high-end collector getting something a higher grade than expected, and all that kind of stuff. But this is just like industry conflict of interest, straight up in your face. And that's to me what the problem is here. And the second thing is, if you go back to why grading was invented, essentially, like, to begin with, it was to add objectivity to the hobby, to have dealers not be the people grading their cards, because they were always going to overgrade their cards and overcharge their cards. And people like us who went back to the shows in the 70s and 80s, like, that was always a problem. So grading, to me, I always thought was the great equalizer. And now you've got the grading company themselves becoming a dealer, which creates the problem that they were initially invented to get rid of. So ultimately, you're always going to deal with conflict of interest in a hobby, but this to me is more important because it's a bigger sphere and it's right out in the open. And ultimately, PSA, I've been anti-PSA for, I don't know, ever since I got back in the hobby, and ironically, I seem to keep proving me right. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I am on the side that I think it's good because it just makes things faster. And I guess I can see both sides of the argument here with, like, why people might not want to do this or why people think it's a good thing. I think the quicker you can make the hobby is self-sustaining, and I think it's one of the only hobbies that really is like that. So if this is a way for people to self-sustain their enjoyment in the hobby, I think anything that can do that is a good thing. Now, I think PSA is moving pretty fast and loose with a lot of the things that they're trying to do. So I hope that down the road there isn't like some crazy, I don't know, some crazy story that comes out. That I know that there was like the rumor that Adam Sandler and the Safdie brothers were going to be making some movie about the dark side of the industry. Like, hopefully this isn't like a plot point in that movie if they ever end up making that movie. But, like, I just think that for people who want to grade their cards and sell them, and maybe that is PSA looked at some sort of data analytics thing and said, this is an X percentage of people who are grading their cards end up selling them right away. I don't know how they would be able to figure that out necessarily, but, like, I just think that on one hand, I can see how people like it. On the other, I can see how they don't. I personally think it's a good thing just from a standpoint of you can get things quicker, but I could see how somebody who, the collecting aspect of cards and being able to hold them in your hands, this isn't something that they would want realistically. So it's the thing with the hobby. It's just there are tons of different ways to do it. I think that's sort of the thing.
At the same time, Adam, and this will be my last comment on this topic, but is there a market for this type of service? Yes. Beautiful thing about it is that we have freedom of choice. And if this is something we don't want to play in, we don't have to. We have other options. We can send the cards in and have them shipped back to us. It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
It's a good move.
Can I push back on that just for a second? I don't think I 100% agree with what you just said, Victor, and true. Like you have freedom of choice in this hobby, but the problem is, I think that it affects the legitimacy of grading if there's always going to be a question of whether PSA has a profit motive on the back end or on the grading end, and that's the problem for me. Is that it's a sort of grading wide problem, not really just a question of whether you use the service or not.
Yeah. But of course, there's a profit agenda attached to it. It's a business,
Yeah.
I just want to wish Timothy Little a happy Saturday and a great weekend. But to answer John's question before, like if Fanatics was to acquire PSA/SGC, that would be my end of a relationship with SGC and PSA. And I guess if I wanted to grade still, it would have to be CGC. At that point, I don't think card manufacturers should be grading their own cars. That's just my personal opinion.
Stay in your lane, Fanatics. Stay in your lane.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, we're basically at the top of the hour here. I guess with 8 people, it can get kind of chaotic. So maybe it makes sense that this kind of went by as quickly as possible. The thing I like to do at the end of the shows is just kind of give everybody their last chance at shouting out whatever you want to shout out. So Dan, I'll start with you. Shout out anything you're looking to shout out, or let the people know where they can find you after this episode.
You can find me on my channel, and for collectors, but my final thought is love the OG Hobby Hotline people, and just so happy about this. So just I'm on top of the world right now. So with this merger and these shows, and I'm going to be watching 100% of the time, and I'm just so happy that we have all these new friends, and that's a great thing. So that's my thought.
Absolutely. Yeah. Appreciate the kind words there. Logan, how about you? Give yourself a shout out.
Okay. I'll give myself a shout out. Again, you can find me on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. You can find me on NASCAR Radio, which drops every Friday. Val and we talk about all things NASCAR, trading cards, and everybody have fun grading cards.
Victor, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to be dropping a video. Stay tuned tomorrow. I'm going to be dropping a video, and the title of it is I Have Just Committed the Ultimate Hobby Sin. So stay tuned for that.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that'll definitely. Yeah. Make sure you go check out that video from Victor there. And did you mention where the account, or like where people can find you, right?
Yeah. Victor, the rookie card specialist, or just punch in true_RCS.
Perfect. Chris, how about you?
Well, I don't have a video to plug, but I guess I'll just plug my Twitter account, Stale Gum. Check out Baseball Cardpedia. Keep rocking in the free world and stay hydrated.
That's right. Orlando, how about you?
You can just check out my channel. I drop a couple of videos a week, just showing cards, my collection, things like that. But I really want to give the shout out to the 4 collectors and John for getting together and doing this. And this combination is going to be awesome. I can't wait to have Hobby Hotline on every single week from now on. I think that's huge. I think we need a show like this on an every week basis. So shout out to 4 collectors and John Newman.
Absolutely. And now we will actually, oops, I think I've been trying to, okay, go for it. Unmute, John. I've been trying to unmute you there.
All right.
John,
Thank you, Orlando. Thank you, Dan, for those comments. I feel exactly the same way. I know we didn't, we had a lot of guys on the screen today. Normally we'll have 3 or 4, and there's a link for anyone that wants to call in and, say you're wrong, John, or you're right, John, or whoever. Right? We used to have a lot of those back in the early days of the show, and I'd like to see that again coming over the 4 collectors. Right? This is the hobby show. This is the community show. So if you want to come on, I know we get that in the chat, like you're crazy or you're wrong or I agree. But if anyone's more than welcome to come on and join whoever the panel is each week. I know this week we had sort of a full house, but this is the hobby community show as a whole, and we're all part of that. Whether you grade or you don't grade, it doesn't matter, right? We're all in this hobby fraternity together. I just want to just sort of tease next week's hobby hotline since we're on it this week. If you thought this was Power Pack. Next week, I believe you got Greg Miller, Junk Wax Hero, Mike C, Dr. Beckett, and Adam. So I think we're going 4 wide next week with some names there as well. So
Wait,
and
Adam, or
again,
me, Adam, or a
no,
different?
Adam Splendid Sports. Adam Splendid
Gotcha.
Sports.
Okay, I was
Well,
just wanted to double
listen,
check.
call in if you want. It could be you if you
I just
want to
wanted to I
call
just
in.
wanted to double check. Just wanted to double check there because
No,
you know, something
I
the
wouldn't
chat
put
can
you
get a
on
little
the
chaotic.
spot like that. But no, well, I feel great. This was a great start with who I hope is a long relationship that grows and gets even bigger and better. So thanks everybody.
Absolutely. And John 3D, last one up here. Let us know where people can find you, shout outs, anything you're looking to do here at the end of the show.
Well, my own channel, 3D80s Kid, is primarily focused on my own collecting. So it's not very frequent content because I make a video when I feel like it. I do try to do a monthly auction show because I love exploring those cards, many of which I'll never ever be able to afford to buy. That'll be a live stream that'll be concurrent with the closing of one of the big auction houses. My content on For Collectors generally involves hosting other collectors to bring in something collecting related. So I am going to enjoy being a part of this where I am more like inserting opinions. So
Right.
it's going to be a fun thing. And yes, thank you, John Newman, for getting this ball rolling with us, cohabitating. So it's going to be a fun time with all, and I'm looking forward to it. So.
Real
Yeah.
quick too, real quick, Adam. I know I've been mentioned a few times, and I appreciate that. But right, the hobby hotline is the 18, I believe, of us now, and that number, who knows, make it bigger, right? It's not just me. I know I do some of the logistics, and 'cause someone has to. But this is a team collaborative effort. Doesn't happen with just me. That's Sports Card Nation. And a guest. That'd be Hobby Clicking. So Hobby Hotline's all of us, and happy to be whatever part of that you put on that. So want to thank everyone involved with the show, including For Collectors now, and those folks that are going to be integrating with us as we see it today. So I just wanted to make sure we give sort of credit where it's due there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of the, I would say this one of the better shows in the industry just because you have such a diverse group of collectors who all have different opinions about things. And, even though we all don't necessarily agree with everybody, it's always in good fun. It's always a good show. There's always, the
It's
chat.
not fun. It's not fun to always agree. If we were all cookie cutters and have the same opinion, how fun would that really realistically be, right? So
Right. Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody on the team at For Collectors. Shout out to everybody here at Hobby Hotline. Adam Drew Palmer. Like I said, you can find me anywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter are kind of my three big places you can find me. And then Daily Nonsense on the Sports Card Nonsense YouTube channel. And I'm a host here on Hobby Hotline as well. So I think I'll be back at some point in October. But yep, we'll be back next week here on the For Collectors channel. I think it'll be episode 352, which again, these numbers just keep getting higher and higher. I say that on every episode. So I want to shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to all the other co-hosts here on the show today. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.